Good morning. Thank you for waking up with a happy ass, where we come together to grow in mind, body, and spirit, so we can in turn go out and make the world a brighter and sweeter place for ourselves and for others. I have one of those days where I get up early and have lots of time for me, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And today's episode is brought to you by my sweet sponsor, Buffalo Rock Pepsi, and I will talk to you about some of my other sweet sponsors in just a little bit. But I want to talk about two concepts today. The first one is, and you may have heard me talk about it before, but it is so cool and it so resonates with me because it's a lesson that I have been trying to learn for a long time. And I've told you this story before, and I think it's appropriate to tell it again. So I have been known for being a little moving too fast, not slowing down, just trying to pack as much in the day as possible and in my life. And I still tend towards that. And I want to pack in as much wonder as I can. But I try not to be a workaholic and all that stuff. When people found out I was married to my sweet, precious husband, Hugh Smith, that knew Hugh and then knew me, but didn't know we were together, they were like going, there's no way. There is no way you're married to Hugh Smith, because he was so contemplative and slow. I mean, really, really slow. That's why we called him the turtle. And I am so fast. I'm like just a traveling dervish. I'm just like all over the place, and always been that way. My mom used to say to me, I wish you would light somewhere, so that's my personality. But I also have learned through the years that taking time for stillness, building some quiet space, finding some white space in my life is so important. And I bet there's a bunch of you out there that really need that, because I know who you are, because some of my friends, y'all fill up every moment. There's no one. My daughter tends to do that too. I wonder where she got it from. I wonder. So I'm really trying to learn that lesson. I really learned it as I was married to Hugh. I got better, then having the kids, then, so much of my life. And when I start to go crazy again, I realize I have to take downtime. So that's what I've done this morning. I didn't go to the gym this morning. I know that I've got a real busy day with my meeting day and things like that. I'll probably take a long walk later on today, but I need to slow down. And I want to tell you a story about that. Before I do, let me tell you about this cute outfit, y'all. Let me tell you about this. Is this not darling? Y'all, I'm working on a new logo. I'm going to give you a little secret. I'm working on a new logo, and I think there'll be a flower and a butterfly somewhere in there. And I've gotten this thing about wearing butterflies a lot lately, and a lot of it has to do with this book I read by Sue Monk Kidd, When the Heart Waits. In fact, I read it about 4 times, so that's where a lot of this lesson is coming from today. So what happened in this book is Sue Monk Kidd is walking with some little boys and some friends, and I think there must be a guardian or somebody with them. So they're walking along, and they come upon a little brook or something with tadpoles in it. And the adult that's with Sue Monk Kidd says, you don't need to be playing with those tadpoles. That's not what girls do. You come up to the house with me and let's do some stuff. I mean, domestic stuff. I would rather play with the tadpoles, to be honest with you, because I'm not much about domestic stuff. So she went up to the house, and, she didn't get to play with the tadpoles. Then later on, their housekeeper, who is named Sweet. Y'all, what a name, because I love to say be sweet, y'all. So that is so cool. So her housekeeper named Sweet, they were walking to the store, and Sue Monk Kidd noticed they're taking the long way around. And she said, where are we going? She said, we're going to take the long way around. And she kind of grumbled a minute, wondered why they were doing that. And as they're walking along, they come upon a little still body of water, and all these little tadpoles are running around. And so then Sue Monk Kidd gets it. She was taking her the long way around so she could experience the tadpoles. So she goes and plays with the tadpoles, and Sweet looks at her and says, aren't you glad we took the long way around? There ain't no tadpoles the short way. You know what? That's me, y'all. That is so me. I am not going to find all the things of my life, the things that God wants of me, the things that God desires for me by taking the short way around. I learned so many things the long way around. And yes, it's simpler, the shorter way around. It's just simpler. I get there fast, but I don't get to see the scenery. I don't get to find the gifts along the way. And I know that, but my personality is such that I go speeding through life. But every time I slow down and take the longer way, I find such gifts along the way. I think there was a couple times in my life where I learned this lesson. And the sad thing about us as humans is we'll learn a lesson and we think that learning that lesson one time is enough to keep us in that place. But it's not. Because I think we'll always go back to the thing that we are or have been if we don't pay attention, if we don't take time, if we don't slow down. Maybe I'm just talking to me, but I have a funny feeling there's more of me out there. I think there's more of me out there. So when I got my first round of that, to be honest with you, was when my starter husband, the first time he kind of left us. There was the first time. And that first time I wanted to keep it going and I didn't want to be a divorcee. And I remember knowing that that was a thing that he didn't like about me, that I was too busy and I was busy trying to, take care of the home, which I wasn't very good at that, to be honest with you. I was working all the time to try to bring money in the house. So when I was faced with the possibility of him leaving and our marriage breaking up, I tried to take in a deep breath and I tried to slow down and I tried to appreciate things. I tried to just sit in the stillness and watch the kids play and try to enjoy my husband more and that kind of thing. It didn't stay that way because life was really, we didn't have any money. I was very disappointed in the way life was going. We just were constantly struggling. I was driving a beater car, like a $500 car. Power was constantly getting turned off. Water was getting turned off. So for me, the only way I knew was just to work. And so life went down a path where he did, in fact, end up leaving. And I was faced once again with the heartache and the pain of being divorced and stuff like that. And I spent a lot of time, I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. And so I was really trying to learn how to have a life of margin. I was learning how to spend more time in silence, more time in praying and asking for God's guidance, because I knew the way that I was living was not working. Something wasn't right about the way I worked. So some of the skills that you learn when you're younger, to survive may help you in a time, but it's not something you can sustain forever. So I then, met my wonderful keeper husband, met Hugh Smith, and life with him was fabulous. It was fabulous. And he taught me to slow down. He taught me to be more contemplative. He also led me to Al-Anon. I'd been before, but he really said, Karen, I think that you could really be helped by this 12-step program of learning not to be the hero child, to learn that all of life doesn't depend on you. See, in my little heart of hearts, I thought that everything in life depended on me. Gosh. And yes, we are responsible for our lives. I do believe in responsibility of our lives, but I also know that some of us tend to be over responsible for things that we're not even responsible for. And then we tend to be not responsible for things we should be responsible for. So i.e. keeping my car clean, i.e. my room, things like that, crazy. I want to do world peace and all that stuff, but I don't want to clean up my room. So whatever. So Hugh taught me that, and I got a little bit better about that and in raising the children and stuff like that. I also got a little bit better about that as I dealt with drug addiction and Sheldon's constant relapsing, and then Scotty's and all the things. And then, of course, when Hugh passed away, I had to take in all the lessons that Hugh had taught me and all the gifts that he left me. And I didn't want to just make life be crazy again. I still tend to do that. That is my natural go-to. So that is why I spend days like today where I sit and read. Like I told you, I think I've told you that I've read the book When the Heart Waits by Sue Monk Kidd like 4 times. And I'm reading it again. I've listened to it and I've read it. And I just have gleaned so many lessons from it. And a lot of it is I'm in a period of waiting right now. I am working on my podcast. I am figuring out how to build our business in this different time of the economy and different time of turmoil. And it's not the first time I've worked through turmoil, so it's not like it's new to me, but the world changes and life changes and I change. So I am trying to figure out what is the most important thing for me to do right now. And how do I stay still? How do I sit long enough to listen to that beautiful, still, quiet voice of God? And how do I sit still long enough to enjoy my family, my friends, take time? And, I'm the kind of person that thinks I've got to do something while I'm doing something. I don't want, like sitting and watching the Masters and not doing something else. Are you kidding me? I don't know how to do that. When Hugh was alive, I was better at that. But I'm not real good at just doing one thing. I want to do the one thing while I'm doing another thing. And yeah, so I'm still not there yet, but I am learning. I'm learning. Okay, so I want to tell you one other fun little lesson that I was thinking about today. And I wrote my love note about this today for my office. And I really don't know when this podcast will come out. It'll probably come out in several weeks to Apple, iHeartRadio, YouTube, all those things. But so there's a concept that I actually learned in ninja selling, one of the things we do for our real estate company. But this concept's been around for a long time because it's used in coaching and stuff like that. And it's the wave the magic wand theory. And it's like if you're trying to think of things let's use it for example of buying a house. You could be talking to somebody about what kind of house they want, and they're giving you the practical things they want, right? They're being practical because us humans are practical for the most part. Most of us are. I'm not real practical. But if you say to them, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you have? And when you do this, you see people shift. You see them just, they look a little lighter. They get a smile on their face. They look up because they are dropping logical and reasonable, and they're tapping into their spirit. They're tapping into what is possible. Not what is not possible, not what logic says is possible, but what is possible if I just dream and imagine. And y'all, I know that seems hokey, but it really works. And it works in your life too. It works for your life. So if I say to myself, if I could wave a magic wand, what would my business look like? What would my podcast look like? What would my family look like? And I start to think about all the things that are possible. And I think those two concepts go together so well when I slow life down, when I take the long way around, when I just stop and play, and I just contemplate the moment where I am right now, and I wave that magic wand. I think about all that God has for me, all that's possible. And I talked in my love note that I wrote today about it all ties in with what Henry Ford said. Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I think our brains, we're made that way. We just tend to go what we can't and not what we can. So I want today for all of us to think about what is possible. What are the things that we could do if we slowed down and we just listened? And we rested in the possibility. Not with our logic, but with our minds and our spirits and the thing that's just lofty, that lets us know that we can do something just big and wonderful and magical, and sometimes something just quiet and restful. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking about today. So before I go today, I want to thank a few more sponsors that are making this possible. I don't thank every sponsor every episode. I do thank my top sponsors. I always thank Pepsi. I always thank Holiday Beach Mechanical, who takes care of my plumbing, my electrical, and all those things. And what else? My air conditioner at my business and my office. But I also have a new sponsor called Team Patriot, who I've now dubbed him as my rent-a-husband. I'll tell you more about that later. Stay tuned and you'll hear all about him. He'll actually be on the podcast soon. But I also want to thank Hugh for giving me my darling hair. They have believed in Happy Ass from the beginning, and I so appreciate that. Thank you, Shore House Furniture. Thank you so much for feeding me well. Something's cooking, and Ferrucci. And you'll hear more about other sponsors at later episodes, and I'm starting to do little spots again where I do just my affirmation. So please follow my Happy Ass Life and share it with others. Share it with others, y'all. But one more thing I want to tell you. I'm in the middle of, some of you know this, I'm in the middle of a rebranding, and you'll hear more about that later. I'll be honest with you, the word ass blocks a lot of things. You wouldn't think it would, because ass is such a happy word. It makes me laugh, it makes me smile, but for some reason, the people out there with the algorithms and stuff, they ain't too wild about the word ass. So we're working on rebranding, we're working on things. I'll keep you updated on it. I'll make you all a part of it. I will always be Happy Ass, but that will probably be dropped in a lot of the verbiage and all the stuff out there. So stay tuned. I'll tell you more about it. But in the meantime, let's read our affirmation. You know, and I don't know, I've got two different ones. So I don't know if I should read the one about pausing or the one about the magic wand. Let's do the magic wand one. Let's do that one, okay? So let's say this together, and I'll put this out here on my website, on my Happy Ass Life, and I will put both of them out there. So you can have both of them. But let's do the one about the magic wand, okay? Let's read this together. We believe in what's possible. We release doubt and welcome courage. We see the good in ourselves and each other. We lift as we climb and we dream as we go. Good things are unfolding and we are a part of it. I'm going to read this one more time, and I want us to take this into our soul. We lift as we climb and we dream as we go. Y'all, I hope you take that into your heart and into your spirit and into your soul. And you know what I'm going to tell you? Be sweet, y'all.